This is Pitch Please, the show where people who play games pitch ideas to people who make them. This week...
Let me just finish this thought before we go into space. The Bejeweled game...
That's the most Pitch Please thing I've ever heard.
Welcome to Pitch Please! My name's Alex, I'm joined by developer Chris from Foggybox.
Oh my god.
Hi, what the fuck was that?
Developer James from Catastrophic Overload.
Hello?
We're still going. Thomas the Ideas Engine.
Yeah, that's me, baby. Woo!
Yeah! I love this energy. All right. Look, if you've not listened to us before, the way this works is one of us is gonna pitch an idea for a game, and then we're going to spend the rest of the show trying to figure out how it works.
You sound
out our
exhausted
ideas.
Already.
I'm fucking worn out. My heart rate is 200. Someone call an ambulance very quickly. So we had last week, Tom, it was you, wasn't it?
It wasn't me.
This week...
I might have another one. I might have another one.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's not a full idea. It's not a 6-page document. It's not got like 10 years of backstory that I need to explain first or anything like that. It's a weird one in that I am almost going to pitch a mechanic that I thought of the other day that I thought you could make an entire game based around, which there's a lot of good games that are based around just one core mechanic and it works.
We need more mechanics in this show.
We need more mechanics. And this is one I don't think I've seen anywhere else. I'm really hoping.
I can't wait for all the comments, or just with all of the responses showing us the game that's done this multiple times before.
Maybe. Then again, we get a lot of comments like, have you ever played Dungeon of the Endless? And it's never that game.
You're right, yeah. I think people just want to feel included, don't they? So stop it.
How fucking dare you?
Can you stop the engagement, please? We don't need it. No, we do. We do, though.
We desperately do, yeah. Please comment.
So I was playing a little bit of Planet Crafter, which is I don't want to say Subnautica, but above water. But that's an easy way of putting it together. You collect resources, you take them back to your base. And and the point of the game is to build heating and oxygen and all of these things to terraform the planet, right? Mm-hmm. The entire structure, the biggest problem I had with the game, though, was the inventory system and the crafting. And it's just carrying around these individual resources. You can't stack items. You can't do anything like that. It's just you pick up iron and you have 10 individual iron in your inventory. And it's a little frustrating. But you can end up making some really cool bases and actually doing some cool stuff for that game. I was thinking of basically just ripping that off because, I'm going to break my own rule.
Is that the mechanic?
I'm going to break my own rule. It's Planet Crafter too. But I was thinking of a mechanic that I haven't seen in survival games or games where you build bases or big machines or anything like that, where the resources that you need to build this building go into a grid, and then it turns into a Bejeweled style game where you have to combine all these resources together in the proper ways, and the more points you get in this very quick mini game adjusts how effective or how good this building is. Or maybe you need to get, say, 1,000 points, and that is the baseline construction of this thing. And that is what you do to actually craft these things. So maybe the game is just running around picking up resources and stuff like that, but the actual construction and crafting is Bejeweled. And if you, get 1,000 points, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm done, but you haven't used all your best resources, they get lost. So you're trying to use as many resources as you can in this quick mini game to build the machine. And the better you do, the better the machine is, or the better the construction is, or the better the equipment you're crafting is. That's the mechanic. And I make a game out of that. See ya.
Is it always Bejeweled? Is it or is it different mini games depending on what you're crafting?
Solitaire.
Frogger.
Could be. What alternatives?
I mean, you love Sudoku. Call back to a couple episodes ago. Make it all Sudoku.
Maybe you can. But I was thinking of just a way to shake up crafting in games, because it is just, for the most part, you've got the resources, you press craft, and it exists, and that's the end of it. And there's no deviation at all between, the first thing you craft and the 10th thing you craft. I think a nice way of sort of spicing that up is maybe you get perks that improve your actual, that mini game. You get more points, and then in all future crafts of this thing, it's better because you're getting more points quicker. Just some way to make crafting more interesting, I think.
The thing that I like about that initially comes to mind is just the idea that, like, in a lot of games, and a lot of games like that, eventually you get to a point where you automate everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's satisfactory when you're crafting something.
Yes.
You just kind of, you put it on, you let it go, and you go and do your own thing. Like, it's actually making something active out of doing this. It's making something fun out of just like, okay, I've gathered the materials, rather than just chuck them in a box or chuck them in a machine and then I'll get a building out the other end. Like, it actually turns that into something more.
Yeah, and I think in the later game, instead of, I really don't want to spend 30 seconds, 45 seconds crafting this one thing a million times, maybe you can get to a point where you're like, I'm happy with that construction. I'll save that. Anytime I want to craft this thing, it uses that. So I guess in all future things, you're like, well, I'm just going to craft this and that's just a click of the button. Sure. But that's just a way of saving time. Building the same thing a million times.
Or I guess depending on what the game is, you make the thing that then makes other things. So if you've made a really good 3D printer or, I don't know, water purifier, you can make more drinks of clean water than say, all right, I've got to do the task to make one glass of clean water. I can now make multiple.
Yeah, exactly.
But the point being is, like, if you do a shoddy job of your Bejeweled game, your water purifier now only makes 3 glasses of water instead of the maximum 50.
Yeah, or it just does it slower.
Okay.
And I think that maybe you could pick up particular resources. Maybe the baseline construction of, I don't know, a mine, for example, a mining rig is just a couple of iron and stone and whatever else. And you can make it with that. But you could also add in other resources that if you manage to combine them properly in this mini game, makes it better. Maybe you could funnel all these amazing resources in it and you aren't able to use them and you just lose them. I think that could be good. Bye.
I like one thing that comes to mind is, I don't know, let's say you are dehydrated. It makes it harder to do whatever mini game it is. So maybe certain resource jewels are obscured, or if it's, I don't know, a skill-based game, the mouse pointer wobbles about more because you're shaking, you're cold at night.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could have very simple games that then become much harder to do as a result of whatever is going on in the real world, quote unquote.
Yeah, and even then, you could just in the future you could pick up perks or rewards or upgrades or whatever. Like, I don't know, say there's a Peggle-esque crafting game or whatever, it gives you more shots. So you can eliminate more as you go. And then it just makes things easier and better as time goes on.
One thing that I think, like, we could try and get out of the way, which might help us come up with more ideas for it, is like, do you have an idea of the setting for this survival? Is it basically just Planet Crafter? Or, because I feel like there are so many games where it's like the survival games where you're on a new planet, or we've done the planet thing, you've got underwater, you've got the jungle. I guess, are there any other places?
We need a new place to survive in which these mini games would fit. The zoo.
The zoo. Prison.
After dark.
You're in a mine and there's jewels everywhere.
You're in a mine.
I did have a question about the Bejeweled aspect of this.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, I'm going to have to use Bejeweled as the example because I don't know what your resources are. So say I've got 3 blue gems, right?
Sure.
Let's say that those 3 blue gems represent a plank each.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when they're in a line, do they disappear or do they combine to create a stack of planks?
They get used for the construction. They disappear from the board,
right,
and become consumed for the construction of the machine.
So what I thought you were doing was combining things. So I have, maybe every red gem is actually, like nails, right? So I then swipe all my planks together and then, there's a red gem, nails, and I swipe those down. Now they're like, a flat plane of planks. So now I have like a surface. And
that would be
a
massive game of Bejeweled if you have to include every single nail in the construction of a building.
It would be represented.
Maybe there are certain things you could throw in there to upgrade the individual resources. If you put nails with plank, for example, and then combine that nailed plank with 2 other planks, it's better than just 3 planks. I don't know.
So is there just a resource bar that you need to fill up? And then once that bar's full? Or is there, like, as you said earlier with different types, is there like your minimum viable product? This is now well made. This is like super well made. The durability of this is double, but it took you longer to get there because you've had to play craft bejeweled. We need to come up with a better name. You need to come up with a good pun name for it, Tom.
Yeah, well, there's many different types of bejeweled. I'm sure we can find a different one. But all I'm thinking of is bejeweled. But what I was imagining was, for the absolute bare minimum of this construction, you need 1,000 points. If you get 1,200 points, it's upgraded. 1,400, 1,600, 1,800. It just keeps going over and over and better and better and better.
In my head, it was like a shopping list of things that you need to make. You need to make 50 planks. Therefore, you need to, connect, not 50, but I don't know, fucking 10 red jewels together. But then that leads me on to think that it's a case of, okay, you're pumping more resources into your container of jewels to make this thing. So I don't know how the durability comes in. That's where my head is at. How does the does the effectiveness? Bejeweled is done. You get the points. I've got 1,000 points. Great. I've got my shed that I've just built. How is 1,000 points?
What do you do with the points?
How does that equate to durability? How does shed not be made good, Tom?
Then
shed is made or not made.
No. So say if that 1,000 point shed had 100 health. So if you get attacked by raiders, I mean, we haven't designed the rest of this game. Okay,
there's raiders.
Let's say the raiders attack. Your building is being your building's being attacked. It has 100 health, but maybe because you took longer, because you 100%ed the shed and went, I have had enough of this crafting minigame for this specific structure, or I play it longer, therefore I get bonuses for that.
Okay, that's the metric, a time metric attached to health.
It might not be time because you might be really good at it. If you're really good at it,
you might get it just super quick because you might have upgraded resources or all these extra perks that give you more points or whatever.
Now, do you upgrade resources by combining them? So it's a little column from my section, a little column from your section.
Sure. Why not? Or maybe even adding in just maybe if you fill this with regular ass MDF, then they're worth less points. But if you have managed to procure some real primo redwood lumber, then you put that in there, and those are worth more points wise. And then you build a tier 1 shed at the baseline. Tier 1, 100 health, 10 inventory. Tier 3 though, 6 million health.
Tom, without thinking, first setting that comes to mind.
I said zoo.
I know, but zoo's not a setting, really, is it?
Zoo
I
is
think an
already
After
built
Dark
up.
zoo
Has
survival game.
Yeah, zoo.
How are you going to build stuff in a zoo, though?
Are you building the zoo?
No, you're stuck in
building
the zoo.
the animals.
So
he's doubling down, even though it's completely
raiders,
nonsensical.
The raiders are the animals. You've been trapped in the zoo. The zoo. Okay, all the animals have escaped.
Right.
And you work at the zoo ordinarily, and they're like, "Oh fuck, we need to lock down the zoo. We need to shut the doors, all the exits to stop the animals from escaping. Hopefully, we didn't leave anyone behind. That's you.
Oh, I'm not stuck in here with them. They're stuck in here with me. That kind of situation.
Sure.
I feel like it should be like I don't
Not
know,
a
like
zoo?
Something bigger. Okay,
So,
all right.
aquarium. Somewhere that has like a really nice environment. You can wander around or something with like
Sorry,
somewhere
whose
like
week is this? It's my pitch, isn't it? Zoo.
You can you can totally
But like not the zoo.
You can totally
Jurassic
dress out.
Park style
The
zoo,
zoo.
right?
So we
I
can't
was
do
thinking, like-
underwater. We can't do another planet. We can't really just do Earth.
I think we can do other biomes on Earth, like other things that haven't been
Middle
explored
Earth?
as much.
Middle Earth. Middle Earth survival?
Antarctica, and just make igloos.
What about somewhere like Norway, like the fjords of Norway?
Norway fjords.
Where you've got like these beautiful
Norway,
surroundings and like there is like flat areas where you can build because that could even theme like the kind of structures that you build, or depending on the landscape that you have, the area that you're in, you might have to build certain kinds of structures or bridges or whatever, depending on what your goals are.
Okay, Tom.
and
Why
boats.
are we building things? Let's try and develop this game around this mechanic. First thing that comes to mind. You're in Norway, remember?
So we're in Norway now.
If that helps you.
Why are we building? We're building a settlement.
You're a Viking. You've been sent out onto the frontier to begin a settlement.
Okay.
Construct a settlement. You're a forward.
Yeah.
You're a little scout guy.
Fjord wood settler.
The first Viking.
Now, are raiders other Vikings? Are they like Nordic myth creatures as well?
No, they're just animals.
Just animals, not even other Vikings.
Squirrels and stuff.
You're trapped.
The coyotes and the badgers, they've teamed up again.
Oh, God.
Also, you're trapped in a large caged arena.
Right, so you're in a zoo.
Oh, he's got us again.
It's come full circle.
I really like the idea of that. Like, I don't know. Look, if we want to have a zoo, sure, a zoo. But my vote is Norway Fjords. Like, I feel
let's go with Norway Fjords.
I want to be a Viking in the beautiful fjords, like constructing, those little grass houses they have and stuff.
Sorry, hang on.
What is Chris going nuts about?
There was a man looking through James's window behind him.
There's a man. Oh, God, there's a man.
There's some dude. And in a high vis. This is podcast friendly, but he just walked past very slowly, just looking in.
And just stared
scared
in,
for my life.
But also was also smiling.
He was very happy.
Ask him if it should be a zoo or the fjords.
He's gone. I think it might have been a male man.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say a male stripper. I don't know.
It was a male stripper.
Oh, my delivery has arrived.
Sorry
about that.
Anyway,
threw me off.
Like, I want to pitch the setup to Tom, and then he can cast it aside, or we can keep it, or we can have a zoo.
Yeah.
So this is just the setup, right? You are a lonely Viking who's been sent out from your fuck. All right.
You're a lonely zoo owner.
Go for it. You're a lonely Viking who's been sent out to build a brand new settlement in the fjords.
Perhaps that could also inform in terms of automation, you start off having to construct these buildings by completing the Bejeweled style puzzles or the Peggle or whatever they end up being. But then the bigger you get, the more kind of buildings you create, other people will eventually begin to move in, and then that can be the automation. Like, they can help with construction, or
maybe you just put like a sticky note of your Bejeweled completed game onto their forehead. And then they're like, right, okay, that's what I've got to do.
I mean, I like that we could use runes instead of gems, right? I mean,
perfect.
Nice.
But what is it about Nordic construction that makes you think Bejeweled?
I think it's more just like, I can't think of a survival game that has used that setting with that kind of architecture. Okay. So it could be anyway, but I just feel like that feels quite unique in my head.
I'm sorry, Tom is questioning that, and this is the person who said we're in a fucking zoo.
Yeah.
Because I know when I go to a zoo, I'm going, well, this would make a fucking great game of. I wish I was playing Bejeweled right now, or that seal. I'm going to build him. I'd love to see him play Bejeweled.
I mean, wouldn't you?
I would actually. That would be
exactly.
Very impressive.
So, what kind of things are you starting off? Like, is it to begin with? You like, are you imagining like you have all the meters? You've got hunger, health, like thirst, whatever, all this stuff, and you're having to just fulfill those basic needs. So, how are you starting out? Do you have to craft a water bottle or something, or is it that? Does it get that in
did
depth?
they have bottles of water?
Yeah, they had like leather skin.
Little beakers?
So water skins, not plastic.
Water skins. No plastic, not yet.
Okay.
Unless they're a very advanced Vikings.
A bottle of Evian?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you do a little hunt, you chop down a couple of trees, you dig a little bit, you find some iron and stone and stuff, and you're like, great, I can make a water skin now, or with my furs and leathers and stuff like that, and then you just slap them into a Bejeweled game, and bam, there it is. That's the problem. I don't know how necessarily good this is for smaller, quicker, consumable things. Like if you've got something that only requires 2 resources, then how does that work? Maybe it only really works on Pong. Could be Pong.
I'm kind of seeing it as a almost like a. Do you remember The Witness?
Yeah.
So, like
Jonathan Blow, a classic.
Jonathan Blow, yeah. So, like, as in starting off, because the way that worked, like the design in that and the pacing I thought was really, really good. And the way that it started off is like introducing you to the really, really simplest of tasks, of puzzles. I think the very first one you get is literally just sliding
Left to
one
right.
ball to the next, left to right to its final node. And maybe that could be how you, like, similar in this, like whatever the puzzle is, if it's Bejeweled or maybe there's some other, I don't know, some other kind of puzzle but yeah, whatever the mini game is, you have the really simple version of that to create
just like a 3x3 grid.
Yeah, something that you can complete in like 10 seconds, or even quicker, perhaps. Like once you get to get good at it. But
yeah, I think you'd scale the grid
structures. It's yeah. But then it could also be scaled. Like the grid could be larger for larger constructions, but also you're using more materials. So there are lots of different kinds of rooms or lots of different materials in the grid. So it just naturally becomes way more complicated.
I was just thinking, like, you could also tie the size of the grid to like a skill level. So you unlock more of your grid. The higher skilled you get, the more things you build, the more proficient you become, and therefore you can increase the size of your grid. So then you can build a shed now. You can build a shelter, or something like that.
I think bigger crafting tables have bigger grids and allow you to build bigger things. But it's just a question of how do you actually select the recipe that you're crafting? Do you just slap a load of resources in there and whatever you combine is what you craft? Or do you select the recipe and then say, I just need to get to 1,000 points? I think I'd
say you'd select the recipe because you'd have to change the grid based on the recipe that someone selects.
Okay.
I feel like the components that you're using like inform the kind of what's in the grid, right?
Yeah, I think maybe the recipes from the outside of the game is just 15 of any type of wood or 15 of any type of stone or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just slap them in there and say, right, I'm going to play some fucking Bejeweled. And then you put it together. Maybe you end up being really great at it or really lucky or really skillful and you're able to build a tier 3 version with the most basic resources. And great.
Okay. Well, I just want to get this idea out before it disappears from my head. I don't know if this works, but what if you have the Bejeweled puzzle, but in order to make the ingredients, the components, you have to do a separate Bejeweled puzzle for that tile. So you almost like right click or zoom into that tile to create so if you want to create a component that you want to create a certain kind of, I need redwood for this building. Redwood needs to go here. So I'm going to zoom into this slot, complete this puzzle, that's crafted redwood. And now that's on my grid.
The old Bejeweledception.
Yeah, how do you craft redwood? What's the resources to craft a redwood?
Wood and red.
Wood and blood.
Yeah, I think it'd be just a redwood.
You just get one. Yeah, okay. So that poor example.
Terrible example. But I see what you mean. Does that make
sense?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but then how deep do you go? The final construction of the game to win, which is obviously a rocket ship to get out of Norway.
A rocket ship. So do you go through technology?
Oh no. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
We're going,
so
stop.
Industrial age.
Yeah, James has been toned. Sorry.
Let me just finish this thought before we go into space. So okay, the Bejeweled game. Right.
That's the most pitch please thing I've ever heard.
All right, cards are coming.
Oh God, hang on. Let me get this thought out. The Bejeweled, by its very nature, has a bunch of shit in it and like other gems that you're not interested in.
So does this pitch.
It's a good measure for like waste, right? So it's like you've got to fill this grid up with enough gems that you can swap around. So you're like, okay, I need 50 redwood, but to get there, you might actually end up using 75 redwood to have enough gems to swap around. So maybe we need to have some sort of mechanic for choosing what goes into the mix. So you're going to have to sacrifice something in order to get the product out at the end.
Yeah,
because
and I think
that's how Bejeweled works.
I think that was the other thing is the ability to lose resources if you don't do the best job that you can do. Maybe I'm not imagining Bejeweled actually, because Bejeweled, when you make a when you make a
snake
combination, like those 3 disappear, and then the grid falls down, and another 3 appear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the one I'm imagining is the one where it doesn't refresh.
Do you mean the thing earlier where I said that they combine and then sort of they stay combined?
Oh, I thought you meant in terms of the actual grand construction. Hang on, wait. What's Bejeweled?
Bejeweled is the one you just said.
First one you described. Yeah.
Okay. What's the one where it doesn't refresh?
Is Candy Crush the same? What's Candy Crush?
Dots or something?
Yeah, is it Candy Crush? I don't know.
I think stuff falls in Candy Crush as well.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
Do we need to Google shit mobile game and see what we can find?
Maybe.
But the other thought, while you're thinking about that, the other thought was, do you have to spend energy to switch jewels around in order to connect them up? Is it like, okay, I've only got X amount of energy, so I need to be careful about what I'm choosing to combine, and therefore that's like, okay, if I spend 10 energy, I could make 50 redwood, but if I spend 5 more energy, I could make 75 redwood because I can connect more things together. Is it like, is there actually
I think having as many different variations going into the crafting allows you to upgrade and improve more as you go. And yeah, having to craft a boat, but in only 3 moves and with these garbage resources, maybe makes it impossible at that stage of the game. It's not necessarily technology locked or research locked. It's just skill locked, or at least the thematic version of your player's skill, making it either heavily impossible to do because you just don't have the moves or the resources for it, or maybe you get very lucky and you can do it, and it makes you want to get perks and upgrade and get better resources to make crafting easier.
Well, maybe the tools that you make can therefore allow you to switch bigger jewels around to, or you expend less energy swapping things and combining things.
Do villagers join you, and therefore you can send them off to be, like wood gatherers, and some people, because how are you getting the resource? Yes, in the zoo. In this zoo that eventually has a launch pad for rockets.
But started in Norway.
I was going to say, do you get cars? Because they could make a Fjord Focus.
For fuck's sake.
Just really brought the tone down.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, so do people join your... Is it like RimWorld where people can turn up and you can like invite them in and then you can send them off to... How are you gaining these resources like original, or is it just pure solo? I know we have not...
Maybe it's in waves. Maybe it's like you've got a number of weeks before you're expecting the next shipment of Vikings to come in. So you've got to have made...
there's a boat coming.
Yeah, you've got to have made enough shelter for them. You've got to have collected enough resources.
Well, that could
if you don't, then they're just going to be wandering around and they'll die. I don't know.
Yeah, you have objectives to complete for by the next moon or whatever. Whenever there's moon. By the next waxing gibbon
tomorrow night.
Well, no, like that's when the next batch of villagers arrives. So you have to have, like James says, you have to have like
they're werewolves.
To begin with, you just have to have basic sleeping areas. But then by the second batch, you're going to have to have
a Nordic motel.
No, you're creating a village, like a settlement slowly. But you need to construct buildings that will support more and more villages. So to begin with, it's just basic lodgings, but then afterwards you're going to want like a food hall or like a social area, and things like that. And you have to complete these. Like it could be that you have like, you can kind of go and do whatever you want generally, but you have certain milestone objectives to complete by a certain time, which is, when the next batch of villagers arrives or something.
I quite like that it's not just, otherwise it's like, what am I surviving? I can make my one like shed and I'm good. Right.
I feel like that's every survival game though, isn't it, for me?
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get to a point where you're like, why am I actually doing this? I don't really know.
Okay. What if I said that alongside this pitch, I did have a pretty solid idea of what I wanted this game to be, and I just wanted to see what you guys would do with it. What was the zoo idea, you idiots? idiots. I don't know why I came to you. But when I had this idea for this crafting construction, Bejeweled crafting construction mini game, I was imagining a very, very simplistic game of maybe even just a mobile game. But the game is you are on the top level of Earth and you're digging down into the Earth. And as you do, you've got this garbage little pick. Maybe you're doing it by hand. And this is, in my head, I was imagining this is almost just black and white in style. I want to say Minute. Is that a game? Minute?
Yes. Yeah,
MINIT? Is that the very, very... yeah, that's sort of...
You get like literally a minute to play. Is that how it works?
Maybe, but that's just in the visual style. Just very, very simple.
Okay.
And yeah, as you're punching down into the earth, it takes a little while, and eventually you're just like, cool, I've picked up enough stone. I'm going to open up the crafting thing and build a pickaxe. And then you build a pickaxe and you go deeper. And then you build a drill and you go deeper. Then you build a laser and you go deeper. And it's not really, it doesn't have a massive story tied to it. It doesn't have anything more than just upgrading your character and increasing the variables that you have as you play. Like Vampire Survivors has a lot of that.
I knew you were going to say that.
Where
as soon as you mentioned that, I knew, because I thought of it and I haven't even played it. And yet I already know where you were going with that. But that would be
How
quite
does Vampire Survivors work, so?
Vampire Survivors is just a top-down sort of, I want to say twin stick shooter, but it doesn't, you can't aim your guns or anything like that. It's just, you start the game, you have a magic wand and it shoots at the nearest vampire that comes in. And then next time you level up, you pick up a different weapon or you upgrade that thing. And eventually it snowballs in such a way that you become your own bullet hell, essentially, where you increase the amount of projectiles you can fire, you increase the speed of them, the size of them, and all these weapons you've picked up become massively upgraded in wiping out hordes and hordes of these creatures. And it's that sort of style of game where there isn't anything to it. It's just fun to watch the numbers go up. And
right, okay.
That's that kind of thing of, yeah, I can punch the earth for 1 damage now, but within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm punching it for 2,000 damage and getting deeper and deeper than ever before, picking up all these resources. I've got little drones flying around me that are also hammering the earth. It's almost cookie clicker in a style, but you actively have to play it and do these mini games. And that's kind of the game I was imagining that would work with just pause the game, Bejeweled. I want to craft a new drill. I want to craft a new pickaxe or something like that, or a new upgrade. And the better you do, the better your upgrade.
Are you like able to craft? I really like that, by the way. Are you able to craft new tools or weapons or whatever at any point, or is it like just pressing like the craft button, or is it at certain? You have to get to certain areas, the equivalent of like a bonfire or whatever, like a rest point, basically.
Maybe you can just pick a point and just say, right, I'm going to build another safe zone here, and you can teleport between them if you want to go back up or down. If you want to, I suppose. Maybe there's different biomes that you discover as you go, and you're like, great, I could pick up these resources from this place. So you go back to it. I don't know.
So is it like Terraria meets Dig Dug?
It's
meets Vampire Survivors.
It's Downfall meets Dismantle. Have you seen Dismantle?
Wow. No, I haven't.
Again, another game that is kind of that same sort of... It's not as quick, like 20-minute game time as Vampire.
Is it spelled with a Y instead of an I?
It is.
Okay.
It is. But that game is much more long form, but is you start with a crowbar that can do 10 damage, and everything in the world can be destroyed eventually. It's pretty fun, actually.
That's cool.
And you come out of your house in this zombie survival wasteland thing, and you can destroy fence posts, and you get a bit of wood. You can hit doors, and you get a bit of wood, and that's about it. But then you use that wood to upgrade your crowbar, and now suddenly you can destroy lampposts and things like that, and you get more resources. And as time goes on, you start tearing down the entire world for all of its resources and upgrading yourself massively. Forager is another one as well, that is the same sort of thing.
Forager.
That it just snowballs and upgrades and evolves. That's the kind of game I want to make. Except this time, it's
in a
just
zoo.
digging a hole. Or
So no
you're in a
zoos.
zoo.
What's the ending of your dig in a hole game? Do you just burn up in the core of the?
You dig too, if you dig too deep.
You're digging, you dig to the core, and that's how you win.
There's a Balrog.
Yeah.
Cool. Or
So
you find the
are
earth
there
is
any-
hollow.
You're trying to get to the other side of the world.
To China.
Is there any threat in this? Like, what are the threats that you're facing, like enemy-wise, or are there?
Depends. It could be a chill version. Like Dismantle has zombies that appear, but they're not really too much of a threat. They just exist. Does Forager have enemies? It has dungeons you can go into, but again, like it's just evolution and expansion. That's all it is really. Maybe the threat is a cave-in at all times.
Right, okay, basically. Just at any random time.
I don't know.
But I think like if you only build, there's no construction beyond tool building, right? Anything you build is basically just to enable you to dig deeper.
Maybe. Or maybe there is. Maybe you can go back and build a base.
Can you build like supports for like the mine shaft? Like if I think, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit like, where are we now? We've like,
this was
no more Vikings are gone. That's fine. We're now digging to the
I'm
center
more
of
into
the
this
earth.
than I was into the Vikings. So I've got to be honest.
No, he's just still a Viking. You're just digging down instead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something that I really like because we have a tendency, I feel, to go quite big with our games. If we keep this to like, like Tom said, a mobile game, or just a simple 2D game, and you're literally digging down. I like the idea that you can build the mine shaft, or like you're literally you start the game as a person just punching the ground.
Yeah.
And that's literally it. You're just punching the ground. And then after like 5 minutes of punching the ground, it's like, I've got a stone. I found a stone, and now I'm going to hit the ground with the stone, and it goes a bit faster. And I do like this idea that eventually you've built this entire mining operation and like scaffolding, and there's like other people, there's a base, there's drills. But it started with you punching the ground as like maybe you age up as well. You're a kid and you're punching the ground, and after 50 years, it's the end of your life or whatever. And it's like,
okay, you go through their entire life.
Yeah.
Wow, miserable.
Start off as a baby. It's like Dungeon Daddy. You've got to be a dwarf, right? If you're digging down. That's like what dwarves do, right? No?
Crap.
On brand.
Well, I was going to say, do we end up calling this game Diggy Diggy Hole? But here we go.
God.
Well,
licensing.
We're part of the Pickaxe Network. Can you tell?
Oh fuck! That's the name of the game.
Oh my
Pickaxe,
God,
the network,
Pickaxe.
the game. And you find podcasts.
Deep.
Yeah.
Golden
Deep rock
mined
pickaxe.
resources.
I think this is the first
We're a
time
tier 1.
that we've started off with one pitch and ended up with two like completely different
It's
games.
not.
Like, is it really not? What else have we?
No, 100%.
Every
They're not even
Every episode we
remotely
get
similar.
different. Oh,
Well, we have different
I mean,
ideas, but like these are literally two different games.
I think.
Well, that's because Tom at the 30-minute mark went, oh, by the way, I've had an idea the entire time. I just want to listen to what you guys
Well,
want.
no, this was
So, fuck that idea off.
You tricked us,
It was. So I downloaded Game Studio Maker, whatever it's called. What is it called?
Yeah, that one.
Game Maker?
Game Studio
Game
Maker.
Maker Studio. That's the one. Because
Okay.
I was like, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to learn. And it turns out I'm dumb, so I can't. But when I was like going through tutorials and making my first game, and I built asteroids, wow! And then I broke it somehow and actually accidentally deleted all the asteroids from asteroids.
That means you win.
Welcome
which
to
means
game
you start
dev.
the game winning, yeah. And then I
broke it. I
realized
don't
like,
know
oh
how.
fuck, I just can't do this. But I was like, after I've done all the tutorials, I'm going to make a game, and I'm going to come up with a simplistic idea and just try and build it. And that's what I came up with. So I had a kind of document in my head of what I wanted this thing to be if I was to make it myself. I just wanted to see what you could come up with the Bejeweled crafting thing. And you know what? You let me down.
Honestly, I think we let ourselves down. We were scrambling. Like the mind thing. It seems way more clearer to me. Like, as much as I love the idea of like a Fjord and the Viking and stuff, because you get
because you pull several ideas out of his arse in a minute.
I mean, to be fair to the original Bejeweled idea, I think there is something really interesting about a crafting game where it's not just click X resources turn into the thing. You know, there's wastage, there's energy, there's like the actual making the act of crafting an actual thing. I think is a really interesting thought. I don't know if Bejeweled is the answer.
Maybe not.
But I like the idea of there being an extra step. And then I also like the other idea of there being Vikings and then they're coming. So you've got to make the town ready for when they arrive. That sounds cool. A crafting game or a survival crafting game with an actual purpose, because there isn't. I don't know. That seems always a little lacking sometimes. You know, Subnautica did all right. I think that was fun.
Yeah, it did fine. It was just like of all the games I've played, it is literally just even Satisfactory. It's just Satisfactory is probably the worst of all of them. You just click and hold for 30 minutes to craft all of your iron.
I struggle
bars.
with aimless games. I think it's like, okay, I can just keep going, but I don't know why am I here?
I feel like, James, that might be something that is just the way that you and I both approach games. I feel like, Tom, you are kind of different in the sense that you like, if you were just given a blank canvas or a sandbox, I think you can do a lot more with it. Whereas like, I feel like people like James and I need more direction or need more like a long-term goal.
I could just honestly, if someone gave me a game and I punched for 1 damage and they said in 4 hours you're going to punch for 2 damage, man, I'm going to put the 4 hours in.
I believe you because of this fucking game that's been on Steam the past week. The Button, have you seen that?
The Button,
it's literally just a guy who has made a game that is a button, and you click it, and every time you click it, your score goes up by 1. And the description is, I'm learning Unity. This is all the game is at the moment. I'll add more features. And it was on the new and upcoming, top of the new upcoming list on Steam. I played it for a joke to see what was happening. And I was streaming my screen on Discord, and Tom was like, hey, can I parsec in and play a button? I'll help you.
I just wanted to 2-person the button. It's never been done before. But yeah, I don't know why that game is on Steam. Like, it exists.
Fuck, if anyone listening to this knows that, like, I would love to know, because it makes no sense to me. I don't understand. But good for that guy, because he's.
I hope there's a secret. I hope they've gone, as soon as you get to 200 million, there's actually a really fun game behind.
Oh, it's like the what was the Cube one by our good friend Peter Molyneux.
Yeah,
but there was nothing at the end, there. It was just disappointment.
Well, I mean, that's just Peter Molyneux.
You got to be, if you got inside the cube, didn't you? You get to
sadness.
You get to help with Godus,
but actually get fobbed off.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you hit 2 million on the button as well. Look, we've actually, incredibly, we've managed to talk about this for quite a long time.
The fuck?
Maybe that's because it's too. Well, no, I'm just giving it, because you started the pitch by saying I haven't done that much. I've only got this one mechanic, and actually, it's expanded into 2 pretty good ideas that go completely different ways. So
there you go.
We're kind of interested to hear what other people think. He's
That's
back.
That's the last time you're going to hear from me.
Better find a guest soon.
If anyone has ideas on how they would expand this, or what they might do with the Viking one, or what they do with the Dwarves version, with what was it, Fjord Focus? That, I guess, is going to be the name of this episode.
That's the name of it now.
Then please let us know. Where can they let us know, Tom? I'm racking my brains.
You can let us know at which is Pitch Please Pod without any vowels on Twitter, or in the reviews on iTunes, I guess. Or maybe you can create your account name on Spotify. That is how you would fix this game, and then listen to the episodes a lot on Spotify so that we know that you.
I love that.
I don't know how to leave feedback on Spotify. I think that's the only way. Also,
quickly before we go, Tiny Teams submissions for 2022 are open now. If you go to yogscast.game/tinyteams, if you're a dev and you've got a game that you want to put out, that you're making, you want to show to people, get visibility, maybe get on the front page of Steam, go and sign up there. It's super worth it. Anyway, until next time, maybe we'll have a guest next time. I don't know. Maybe I should actually get a guest for once. Or maybe it's going to be another one of our shit ideas.
Maybe that's for you to find out and for us to find out.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Toodles.
There's someone on the button that has 127 hours played.
127 hours.
It's Tom.